The crystal wine glass shattered against the marble floor, and Maya Torres knew her night was about to get worse. She'd been a waitress at Luminosa for exactly 4 months and 3 days. Long enough to know that Tuesday nights were supposed to be quiet. Long enough to recognize the regulars who tipped well and the ones who didn't. Long enough to understand that when Richard Bennett, the general manager, got that particular look in his eye, the one where his jaw clenched and his nostrils flared, someone was about to have a very bad time. Tonight, that someone was a little girl. Maya watched from the server station as the child, maybe 9 or 10 years old, stood frozen near table 7. She wore a velvet dress the color of midnight, her dark hair pulled back with a silver clip that probably cost more than Maya's rent. The broken wine glass lay at her feet, red liquid spreading across the white marble like blood. "I'm sorry," the girl whispered, her voice so small Maya barely heard it over the soft piano music drifting through the restaurant. "I didn't mean to. I was just trying to reach the bread basket." Richard was already moving, his footsteps sharp and purposeful. Maya knew that walk. She'd seen him use it on servers who made mistakes, on kitchen staff who were too slow, on anyone who disrupted the carefully cultivated atmosphere of Chicago's most exclusive Italian restaurant. "Do you have any idea," Richard said, his voice low but carrying, "how much that glass cost?" The little girl's eyes filled with tears. "I said I'm sorry. Sorry, don't pay for baccarat crystal." Richard grabbed a napkin from the nearest table and thrust it at her. "Clean it up." "Sir, she's a child." The words came from a woman at table 7, the girl's mother, Maya assumed. She was beautiful in that sharp, expensive way that came from good genes and better cosmetic procedures. "I'll pay for the glass, obviously." "There's no need to. There's every need, Mrs. Castellano." Richard's smile was thin and cold. "At Luminosa, we maintain certain standards. If your daughter can't behave appropriately, perhaps more. A family-friendly establishment would be better suited to your needs." Maya's hands tightened on the water pitcher she'd been holding. She'd watched Richard humiliate staff members for months. She'd learned to keep her head down, do her job, and ignore the casual cruelty he distributed like breadcrumbs. But this was different. This was a child, and the fear in that little girl's eyes reminded Maya too much of herself at that age, small, scared, certain that every mistake was catastrophic. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners pretended not to watch, but Maya could feel their attention like a physical weight. The girl bent down, her hands shaking as she tried to pick up pieces of broken crystal with the napkin. "Don't." Maya heard her own voice before she'd consciously decided to speak. "Don't touch that. You'll cut yourself." She crossed the dining room in 6 strides, set down her pitcher, and knelt beside the girl. Up close, she could see the child's face was pale, her breath coming too fast, on the edge of panic, maybe, or worse. "It's okay," Maya said softly, meeting the girl's eyes dark brown, wide with unshed tears. "Accidents happen. That's why they're called accidents, right? I'll clean it," the girl whispered. "He said I have to. What you have to do is not cut your hands on broken glass." Maya looked up at Richard, who stood over them with an expression of barely contained rage. "I'll handle this, sir. Why don't you check on the kitchen? I think table 12's entrees should be ready." It was a calculated risk. Richard hated being told what to do, especially by servers who'd been there less than 6 months. But he also hated scenes, and this was rapidly becoming one. Every eye in the restaurant was on them now. "My office," Richard said quietly, his voice deadly calm. "After your shift, we're going to have a conversation about respect and hierarchy." "Looking forward to it," Maya lied. Richard stalked away, and Maya turned her attention back to the girl and the spreading wine stain. She pulled out her own clean napkin and began carefully picking up the larger pieces of crystal, setting them on her serving tray. "I'm Maya," she said as she worked. "What's your name?" "Sofia." The girl's voice was steadier now. "Sofia Castellano. That's a beautiful name. Italian?" Sofia nodded. "My dad's family is from Sicily." "Well, Sofia from Sicily, I need you to do me a favor. Can you step back about 3 feet? Just in case there are little pieces I can't see. I don't want you getting hurt." Sofia did as asked, and Maya noticed the girl's mother watching with an expression that was hard to read. Not quite gratitude, not quite suspicion, something calculating. "Thank you," Mrs. Castellano said, her voice cool and controlled. "You didn't have to do that." "Sure I did." Maya finished collecting the visible glass and pulled out her phone to use the flashlight, checking for smaller fragments. Nobody should get in trouble for an accident, especially not a kid. Nevertheless, Mrs. Castellano opened her clutch and pulled out what looked like a business card. "Your manager seems like the type to hold grudges. If you find yourself needing new employment, call that number. My husband owns several restaurants. We're always looking for staff with good instincts." Maya took the card automatically, glancing at it. No name, just a phone number embossed in gold. The kind of card rich people used when they didn't want to be easily traced. "Thank you," Maya said, though something about the offer felt off. Too generous. Too quick. "But I'm sure it'll be fine." It would not be fine. Maya knew that with absolute certainty. But she tucked the card into her apron pocket anyway and finished cleaning the wine stain, while Sofia watched with eyes that reminded Maya of a baby deer, beautiful and fragile, and far too aware of predators. 20 minutes later, Maya was in Richard's office, and it was going exactly as badly as she'd expected. "Do you have any idea?" Richard said, pacing behind his desk like a caged animal. "Who that woman is? Mrs. Castellano?" "Victoria Castellano, wife of Dante Castellano." Richard stopped pacing and leaned forward, palms flat on his desk. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Maya's stomach dropped. Even she, who'd only been in Chicago for 8 months, knew that name, Dante Castellano. Real estate developer, restaurant owner, philanthropist, and according to rumors that everyone whispered but nobody confirmed, one of the most powerful men in Chicago's organized crime network. "I was just helping a child," Maya said quietly. "You were undermining my authority in front of one of our most important client families." Richard's face was flushed now, anger breaking through his usual cold control. "Do you understand what you've done? Victoria Castellano doesn't hand out her personal card to anyone. Now she thinks you're someone worth knowing, which means her husband will hear about this. Which means what?" Maya interrupted. "That I might get a better job offer? Is that what you're really worried about, Richard? That people will realize you treat staff like garbage and they'll leave?" Wrong thing to say. Maya knew it the instant the words left her mouth. Richard's expression went flat and dangerous. "Clean out your locker. You're done. You're firing me for helping a child who was scared. I'm firing you for insubordination, for making a scene, for embarrassing this establishment in front of a VIP client." He pulled an envelope from his desk drawer and thrust it at her. "Final paycheck. You have 15 minutes to collect your 90s things and leave the premises. If you're here after that, I'm calling security." Maya took the envelope with shaking hands. 4 months of work, gone. 4 months of carefully saved tips, gone. The steady paycheck that let her afford her studio apartment and her online classes and actual groceries instead of ramen, all gone. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "The only mistake I made was hiring you in the first place." Richard sat down and opened his laptop, dismissing her with the gesture. 15 minutes, Torres. Don't make me count." Maya walked out of his office with her head high and her eyes burning with tears she refused to shed. The kitchen staff looked away as she passed. They'd all been through this before, she realized. She wasn't the first person Richard had fired for bruising his ego, and she wouldn't be the last. In the staff locker room, Maya gathered her things with mechanical efficiency. An extra pair of shoes, her backup phone, charger, the romance novel she'd been reading on breaks. The photograph of her and her younger sister Emma taped to the inside of her locker door, both of them laughing at Emma's high school graduation 3 years ago. Back when their biggest worry was whether Maya would make it home from her shift in time for the ceremony. She'd made it. Barely. And Emma had hugged her afterward and said, "You work too hard, Maya. You need to take care of yourself too." Maya had promised she would. She'd lied. She was tucking the photograph into her bag when someone cleared their throat behind her. Maya turned to find Sofia standing in the doorway, still in her velvet dress, her mother's hand on her shoulder. "You shouldn't be back here," Maya said automatically. "This is staff only. We wanted to thank you properly." Victoria Castellano's voice was warmer now, less calculating, and to apologize. "I didn't realize Richard would retaliate quite so severely." "You heard?" Everyone heard. Richard, isn't exactly subtle when he's angry. Victoria glanced down at her daughter. Sofia wanted to give you something. The little girl stepped forward and held out a carefully folded piece of paper. Maya took it, confused, and opened it to find a drawing crayon on what looked like a page torn from a coloring book. It showed two stick figures, one tall and one short, standing together. Above them, in careful child's handwriting, "Thank you for being brave." Maya's throat tightened. Sofia, this is beautiful. You were nice to me when he was mean. Sofia's voice was quiet but fierce. That makes you a hero. I'm not a hero, sweetie. I'm just someone who thinks kids shouldn't get yelled at for accidents. That's what makes you a hero, Victoria said softly. Then more businesslike, "The offer stands. Call that number when you're ready. My husband will want to meet you." Why? Maya couldn't help asking. Why would someone like him care about a fired waitress? Victoria's smile was enigmatic. Because people who stand up to bullies are rare, Miss Torres, and my husband values rare things. They left before Maya could respond, Sofia turning back once to wave goodbye. Maya waved back, then finished packing her locker in silence. 14 minutes after Richard had fired her, Maya walked out of Luminosa for the last time. The October air was sharp with the promise of winter, and the Chicago streets were busy with people heading home from work, from dinner, from lives that hadn't just imploded. Maya pulled out the business card Victoria had given her and stared at the gold embossed number. She should throw it away. Nothing good came from getting involved with people like the Castellanos, people whose wealth and power operated in shadows and spoke in codes, but her bank account had $217 in it. Her rent was due in 6 days. Her sister's college tuition payment for next semester was coming up, and Maya had promised that Emma wouldn't have to take out more loans. She tucked the card back into her pocket and started walking toward the bus stop. Tomorrow, she'd figure out what to do. Tomorrow, she'd look for a new job, call temp agencies, maybe pick up shifts at the diner near her apartment that was always hiring because the tips were terrible, and the manager grabbed servers' asses when he thought no one was watching. Tomorrow, she'd survive. Tonight, she'd just try not to cry on public transportation. Maya didn't notice the black Mercedes that had been idling across the street from Luminosa for the past 20 minutes. Didn't see the man in the driver's seat lift his phone and make a call. "She's leaving now, sir," the driver said quietly. "The manager fired her, just like Mrs. Castellano predicted. Yes, sir. On foot, heading toward the bus stop on Clark. Understood. I'll keep my distance." In a penthouse office 12 blocks away, Dante Castellano stood at the window overlooking the Chicago skyline, phone pressed to his ear. He'd been in a meeting with his accountants when Victoria had called to tell him about the incident at Luminosa. He'd listened to his wife describe the young waitress who'd defended their daughter, and something in Victoria's voice, a note of approval she rarely gave anyone outside their family, had made him pay attention. "Tell me again what she said to Richard," Dante instructed his driver. "According to the hostess I spoke with, she told him that nobody should get in trouble for an accident, especially not a kid. Then when he threatened her job, she said, 'You're making a mistake.' Didn't back down, didn't apologize, just collected her things and left." Dante smiled. Courage was common in his world. Everyone thought they were brave until they actually faced consequences. But courage combined with genuine kindness? That was rare enough to be interesting. "Follow her home," Dante said. "I want to know where she lives, who she talks to, what her situation is. And Marco, sir, don't let her see you. This one's different. I don't want her scared off before I've had a chance to talk to her." "Understood, Mr. Castellano." Dante ended the call and turned back to his accountants, but his mind was elsewhere. His daughter had come home from dinner talking about the nice waitress who'd protected her, who'd made her feel safe when a grown man had tried to humiliate her over broken glass. Sofia hadn't talked that much since Dante cut off the thought before it could form completely. Some memories were too painful to revisit, even in the privacy of his own mind. But this Maya Torres, this young woman who'd thrown away her job to defend a child she didn't know. She'd done something that therapists and doctors and the best private specialists money could buy hadn't managed in 18 months. She'd made Sofia smile. For that alone, Dante Castellano owed her a debt. And he always paid his debts. The question was, how? Maya's apartment building looked worse in the dark. The flickering streetlight outside made shadows dance across the cracked concrete steps. Someone had broken the security door lock again. so it swung open when she pushed it, no key needed. The elevator had a handwritten, out-of-order sign that had been there since she'd moved in. Maya climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, her feet aching from a shift that had ended in disaster. She could hear her neighbors through thin walls, a baby crying in 3A, a couple arguing in 3C, a television turned up too loud in 3D. The soundtrack of her life for the past 8 months. She unlocked her door 3 locks, because this neighborhood required them, and stepped into her studio apartment. Calling it a studio was generous. It was a room with a kitchenette alcove and a bathroom the size of a closet. But it was hers, and it was clean, and it was safe. Or it had been, until tonight, when her ability to pay for it had evaporated. Maya dropped her bag on her secondhand couch and pulled out her phone. 11 missed calls from Emma, 6 text messages. Maya, call me, seriously. Call me, I heard about Luminosa. Jennifer texted me. Where are you? I'm getting worried, Maya. Isabel Torres, answer your phone. Maya smiled despite everything. Emma only used her full name when she was either really angry or really worried. She hit call back. Emma answered on the first ring. Finally. Are you okay? Jennifer said. Richard fired you? What happened? I'm fine. Maya sat on her couch and unlaced her shoes. And yeah, I got fired. For what? You're the best server they have. For defending a kid who broke a glass. Maya gave her sister the abbreviated version, leaving out the part about the Castellanos. Emma didn't need to know that her older sister had just gotten entangled with one of Chicago's most powerful families. Richard didn't like me undermining his authority. Richard is a dick, Emma said flatly. You should sue. That's wrongful termination. Can't afford a lawyer, Em. Then No. Maya's voice was firm. You're not dropping out of Northwestern to help me with legal fees. We're not having that conversation again. Emma was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. Rent's due in 6 days. I know. And my tuition. I know, Emma. I'll figure it out. How? Good question. Maya looked around her tiny apartment, at the collection of odd jobs and extra shifts that had kept them afloat since their parents died 4 years ago. Their parents had died 4 years ago, first their father's heart attack, then their mother's cancer 3 months later. The medical bills had consumed everything, and Maya had dropped out of college to keep them afloat. Maya had made it work because Emma deserved every chance their parents would have given her. I'll pick up shifts somewhere, Maya said, more confidently than she felt. Maybe that diner on Ashland that's always hiring, and I've got that interview next week with the catering company, remember? This is just a bump, Em. We've handled worse. You've handled worse, Emma corrected quietly. You always handle it, Maya. You take care of everything and everyone, and nobody takes care of you. You take care of me. By letting you work yourself to death to pay for my education? That's not taking care of you. That's a burden. Emma Lucia Torres, don't you dare. Maya's voice went sharp. You are not a burden. You're my sister, and you're brilliant. And in 3 years you're going to graduate from one of the best schools in the country. That's not a burden. That's the only thing that makes this worth it. Emma sniffled. I could take a semester off, get a job, help with no. We're not doing this, Em. You stay in school. I'll figure out the money. That's the deal. That's a terrible deal. Maya laughed despite everything. Yeah, well, you're stuck with it. Now go study for whatever exam you're supposed to be stressing about instead of me. Organic chemistry. And I hate you. Love you too, sis. After Emma hung up, Maya sat in silence and let herself feel it, the fear, the exhaustion, the bone-deep weariness of being 26 years old and feeling 40. 4 years of this. 4 years of barely sleeping, barely eating, barely living, all to make sure Emma had the chance Maya never got. Her phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. This is Sofia Castellano. I hope you made it home safely. The offer I mentioned earlier is genuine. My husband would like to meet you tomorrow at 2 p.m., if you're available. I'll send a car to your address. Maya stared at the text. How did Victoria have her phone number? More importantly, how did she have Maya's home address? A second text came through. Before you ask, the hostess at Luminosa had your contact information from your employment file. I can be very persuasive when necessary. This is not a threat, Miss Torres. It's an opportunity. But only if you want it. Maya should block the number, should delete the texts, should have nothing to do with people who had the resources and connections to get her personal information in less than 3 hours. Instead, she pulled out the business card and stared at the gold embossed number. People who stand up to bullies are rare. My husband values rare things. What did that mean? What could a man like Dante Castellano possibly want from someone like her? Maya typed a response before she could overthink it. What kind of meeting? The response came immediately. The kind where we discuss your future. 2 p.m. tomorrow. The car will be there at 1:45. Wear something professional but comfortable. And Miss Torres? Don't be afraid. In my world, that loyalty matters. See you tomorrow. Maya set down her phone and looked around her apartment. At the bare walls and second-hand furniture, at the stack of bills on her tiny kitchen counter, at the photograph of her family from before when her parents were alive and healthy and Emma was still a kid who believed the world was fair. She thought about Richard's face when he fired her, about the look in Sofia's eyes when she'd been humiliated over an accident, about the drawing now tucked in her bag, "Thank you for being brave." Tomorrow, she'd meet with Dante Castellano and find out what he wanted. Tomorrow, she'd decide if this was an opportunity or a trap. Tonight, she'd let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, doing the right thing wouldn't cost her everything for once. Outside her building, Marco sat in his Mercedes and sent a final text to his boss. "She's home, safe. Received Mrs. Castellano's message. Looks like she's considering it." Dante's response was immediate. "Good. Tomorrow we find out if she's as brave as Victoria thinks, or just desperate. Either way, I'll know what to offer her." Marco pulled away from the curb and disappeared into Chicago traffic, leaving Maya Torres alone with her thoughts, and her choices, and the gold-embossed business card that might change everything. Maya changed her outfit 4 times before the car arrived. Too casual, too formal, too desperate, too much like she was trying too hard not to look desperate. She finally settled on black pants, a cream-colored blouse, and the blazer she'd bought at Goodwill for job interviews. Professional but not pretentious. The kind of outfit that said, "I'm taking this seriously without screaming, I need this so badly I can't breathe." At exactly 1:45 p.m., her phone buzzed. "Your car has arrived. Black Mercedes. The driver's name is Marco." Maya looked out her 3rd-floor window and saw it sleek, expensive, completely out of place on her street, where most vehicles were held together with hope and duct tape. A man in a dark suit stood beside it, scanning the building with the kind of awareness that suggested he saw everything and forgot nothing. She grabbed her bag and headed downstairs, heart hammering against her ribs. Marco opened the door as she approached. He was maybe 40, built like he spent serious time in a gym, with a scar running along his jawline that somehow made him look more professional rather than threatening. "Miss Torres?" "That's me. I'm Marco. I'll be driving you to meet Mr. Castellano." He gestured to the open door. "Please." The interior of the Mercedes smelled like leather and money. Maya slid onto seats that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent and tried not to look as overwhelmed as she felt. Marco got in and pulled smoothly into traffic. "There's water in the door compartment if you're thirsty. The drive will take about 20 minutes. Where are we going?" "Mr. Castellano's office, downtown." Marco glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "He asked me to assure you that this is just a conversation. You're not in any danger, and you're free to leave at any time." The fact that he felt the need to say that should have been reassuring. Instead, it made Maya's stomach twist. "Why would I be in danger? You wouldn't be. But Mr. Castellano knows his reputation precedes him, and he wants you to feel comfortable." Marco navigated through traffic with practiced ease. "For what it's worth, Miss Torres, I've worked for Mr. Castellano for 8 years. I've never seen him hurt anyone who didn't deserve it." "That's not as comforting as you think it is." Marco's lips twitched. "Fair enough." They drove in silence for a while. Maya watched Chicago slide past the tinted windows, her neighborhood giving way to nicer ones, then to the gleaming towers of downtown. She'd been to this part of the city before, but always as an outsider, a service worker moving through spaces designed for people with different tax brackets. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said finally. "Of course. Why does Mr. Castellano want to meet me? I mean, really? Is this about a job? Or is it about something else?" Marco was quiet for a moment, navigating a turn. "That's something he should explain himself. But, I can tell you this, Sofia hasn't stopped talking about you since last night. That means something to him. She's a sweet kid. She's been through a lot. Marco's voice softened slightly. Having someone stand up for her, protect her, no questions asked. That mattered. You gave her something she's been missing. What's that? The feeling that someone gives a damn. Before Maya could process that, they were pulling into an underground parking garage beneath a building that probably had more security than Fort Knox. Marco showed ID to a guard, then drove to a private elevator bay. This goes directly to Mr. Castellano's office, Marco explained, opening her door. Top floor. He's expecting you. Maya stepped out, and the elevator doors opened immediately like they'd been waiting. Inside was all polished chrome and soft lighting, with a single button marked simply P. Good luck, Miss Torres, Marco said. The doors closed, and Maya was rising through the building so smoothly she barely felt the movement. Her reflection stared back at her from the chrome walls. 26 years old, dark circles under her eyes from too many double shifts, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail because she couldn't afford a decent haircut. She looked exactly like what she was, someone who'd been struggling for so long that struggling felt normal. The elevator opened directly into an office that made Maya's breath catch. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Chicago from what had to be 40 stories up. The city spread out below like a map made of steel and glass and ambition. The office itself was all clean lines and expensive simplicity, dark wood, leather chairs, artwork that probably cost more than Maya would make in a lifetime. And behind a massive desk sat Dante Castellano. He was younger than Maya expected, late 30s, maybe 40, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, and the kind of face that photographs couldn't quite capture. Handsome, yes, but more than that. There was an intensity to him, a sense of contained power that filled the space without him saying a word. He stood as she entered, buttoning his suit jacket with practiced ease. Miss Torres, thank you for coming. His voice was deep, measured, with a hint of an accent that suggested Italian roots. Please, sit. Maya moved to one of the leather chairs across from his desk, acutely aware of how small she felt in this space, how out of place. Can I offer you something to drink? Coffee? Water? Something stronger? The water's fine, thank you. Dante pressed a button on his desk. Angela, could you bring water for our guest? He sat back down, his attention focused entirely on Maya. I imagine you're wondering why you're here. The thought crossed my mind. A slight smile. I appreciate directness. Let me be direct in return. He pulled out a tablet and turned it toward her. On the screen was what looked like security footage, the restaurant, the broken glass, Maya, kneeling beside Sofia, while Richard stood over them. My wife sent me this last night, Dante said, along with a rather detailed account of what happened. I've since spoken to 3 other staff members at Luminosa who confirmed the story. He paused. I've seen what happened at the restaurant. I lost my job for insubordination. Maya corrected. Richard made that very clear. Richard Bennett is a small man with a small amount of power who enjoys wielding it over people who can't fight back. Dante's voice went cold. He's also been skimming from Luminosa's accounts for the past 6 months. The owner will be receiving documentation of that fact this afternoon. Maya's eyes widened. You're going to get him fired? I'm going to get him arrested. There's a difference. Dante closed the tablet. But that's not why you're here. You're here because my daughter came home last night and talked for an hour about the nice waitress who protected her. She drew you a picture. She asked when she could see you again. His expression softened slightly. Do you know how rare that is? For Sofia to trust someone new? Your wife mentioned she'd been through a lot. That's one way of putting it. Dante stood and moved to the windows, hands in his pockets. 18 months ago, someone tried to kidnap Sofia from her school. The attempt failed, but it traumatized her. She stopped talking to people outside the family, stopped making friends, developed anxiety that no amount of therapy could quite fix. He turned back to Maya. Last night, she smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. Because you made her feel safe. Maya's throat tightened. I'm glad I could help. I'd like you to help more. Dante returned to his desk. I have a proposition for you, Miss Torres. A job offer, if you will. What kind of job? I need someone I can trust to be with Sofia during situations where Victoria and I can't be present. School events, activities, the occasional dinner when we have business obligations. He met her eyes. Someone who will protect her the way you did last night, without hesitation, without concern for personal cost. You want me to be her bodyguard? I want you to be her friend. Dante pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. The bodyguards handle physical security. What I need is someone who understands that sometimes the threat isn't physical. Sometimes it's Richard Bennett who thinks power means humiliating a child. Sometimes it's a world that doesn't always care about kindness. Maya opened the folder. Inside was a contract, dense with legal language she'd need time to parse. But the number at the top made her dizzy. "That's per month," Dante said quietly. "Plus benefits, housing if you need it, and a signing bonus equal to 3 months' salary." It was more money than Maya had made in the entire past year. Maybe 2 years. "This is too much," she whispered. "It's exactly what the job is worth." Dante leaned back in his chair. "My daughter's safety and happiness are worth more than I could ever pay. But this is what I'm offering." Maya's mind raced. This kind of money meant Emma's tuition was paid in full. No more juggling 3 jobs. No more lying awake at night doing math about rent versus groceries. Security, real security, for the first time since her parents died. "But what's the catch?" she asked. "The catch? Nobody offers this kind of money without strings attached. What aren't you telling me?" Dante studied her for a long moment, and Maya had the unsettling feeling he was reading her entire life story in her face. "The catch," he said slowly, "is that working for me means entering a world you're not familiar with. People will make assumptions about you, about your relationship to my family, about why I hired you. Some of those assumptions will be ugly." He paused. "And there's always the possibility that someone might try to use you to get to me or to Sofia. I have security measures in place, but the risk exists. You're saying I could be in danger. I'm saying I would do everything in my power to prevent that. But honesty requires that I acknowledge the possibility." Dante's expression was serious. "This isn't a normal job, Miss Torres. It's asking you to become part of something larger and more complicated than simple employment." Maya looked down at the contract, at the number that could change her entire life. She thought about Emma, about the promise she'd made to their parents before they died. "I'll take care of her. I won't let her struggle like we did." She thought about Sofia's drawing, still tucked in her bag. "Thank you for being brave." "Can I ask you something?" Maya said. "Anything. If I say no, what happens?" "You walk away with no hard feelings and a recommendation letter for any job you want. I have connections throughout Chicago. 1 word from me and you'll have your pick of positions. And if I say yes, then you start tomorrow. I'll have Marco pick you. Up at 9. Sofia has a violin lesson at 10 that Victoria usually attends, but she has a conflict. I'd like you to take her instead. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one." Maya closed the folder and met Dante's eyes. She saw calculation there, yes, but also something else. Hope, maybe, or desperation, carefully disguised as control. "What happened to her mother?" Maya asked quietly. "You mentioned Victoria like she's Sofia's stepmother. Not, she is." Dante's expression went carefully blank. "Sofia's biological mother, Elena, died 2 years ago. Cancer. Victoria and I married 6 months ago. It's been an adjustment for everyone. I'm sorry. So am I." He stood, signaling the meeting was nearing its end. "I need an answer, Miss Torres. Not today, I'm not going to pressure you into a decision this important, but soon. Take the contract home. Read it carefully. Think about what you want." Maya stood as well, and found herself asking one more question. "Why me? I'm sure you have access to professional security, trained nannies, people with actual qualifications. Why offer this to someone you don't know?" Dante was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than it had been. "I've spent 2 years hiring the best people money can buy, but none of them made Sofia smile." "You did." He turned back to Maya. "I'm not offering you this job because of your resume. I'm offering it because when you saw a child in distress, your first instinct was to protect her. No calculation, no concern for consequences, just protection." His eyes met hers. "That's not something you can teach. You either have it or you don't." Maya felt something shift in her chest. "I need to think about it. Take all the time you need." "Within reason." Dante pressed the button on his desk again. "Marco will drive you home. If you have questions, my number is on the contract. Call anytime." Thank you, Mr. Castellano. Dante, he corrected. If you're going to be part of Sofia's life, we should be on a first-name basis. Maya nodded and turned to leave. She was almost to the elevator when his voice stopped her. Miss Torres? Maya? She turned back. Thank you. For last night. Not many people would risk their livelihood for a stranger's child. That means something. To me, and especially to Sofia. Maya managed a small smile. She's a good kid. She deserves people who'll stand up for her. She does. The question is, are you willing to be one of them permanently? The elevator doors opened, and Maya stepped inside, the contract folder clutched to her chest like a shield. As the doors closed, she saw Dante still standing by the window, silhouetted against the Chicago skyline, looking like exactly what he probably was, a man with power and secrets, and the will to use both. Marco drove her home in silence, seeming to sense that Maya needed time to think. When they pulled up to her building, he handed her a business card. My personal number, he said. If you take the job, you'll be working with me on Sofia's security. If you have questions before you decide, call me, anytime. Maya took the card. Can I ask you something? Shoot. Is he always that intense, Dante? Marco smiled slightly. That wasn't intense. That was him being charming. You should see him in a business meeting. He paused. Look, I know this is a lot to process, but I'll tell you what I told Mrs. Castellano when Dante asked her to marry him. He's not a perfect man, but he's a loyal one. If you're part of his family, he'll move heaven and earth to protect you. I'm not family. I'm potentially an employee. With Dante, there's not much difference. The people he trusts become family. That's just how he operates. Marco glanced at Maya's building. Take your time with the decision. But for what it's worth, Sofia needs someone like you. And I think maybe you need something like this too. After Marco drove away, Maya climbed the 3 flights to her apartment and locked all 3 locks behind her. She sat on her couch and opened the contract with shaking hands. It was legitimate, she could tell that much, even without a lawyer's review. Clear terms, reasonable expectations, benefits that seemed almost too good to be true, health insurance, dental, a retirement plan, things Maya hadn't had access to since her parents died. And that number, that life-changing, impossible number. Maya pulled out her phone and called Emma. Hey, her sister answered. How'd it go? Did you get the catering job? Not exactly. Maya took a breath. I got offered a different job. A weird one. And I need your opinion. She told Emma everything. The meeting, the offer, the amount of money involved. She left out the part about Dante's reputation, about the hints of danger and complication. Emma didn't need more reasons to worry. When she finished, Emma was quiet for a long moment. That's a lot of money. She finally said, I know. Like, pay off all our debt and your rent for a year, and my tuition kind of money. I know, Em. So, what's the problem? Maya laughed, but it came out strained. The problem is, it seems too good to be true. And things that seem too good to be true usually are. Or, Emma said slowly, maybe you're so used to things being hard that you can't recognize an actual opportunity when it shows up. What? Maya, you've been taking care of me for 4 years. You dropped out of school. You work yourself sick. You never do anything for yourself. And now someone's offering you a good job with good pay, and your first instinct is to assume it's a trap. Emma's voice was gentle but firm. Maybe it's just what it looks like, a parent who needs help with his kid and is willing to pay fairly for it. But nothing. You protected a little girl. He's grateful. That's allowed to be the whole story. Maya wanted to believe that. But something in Dante's expression, in the careful way he'd phrased things, suggested there was more to the story. Layers she couldn't see yet. What if I'm getting in over my head? Maya asked quietly. Then you figure it out. Like you always do. Emma paused. Take the job, Maya. Please. Not for me. Though God knows the tuition help would be amazing. Take it for yourself. Take it because you deserve something good for once. After Emma hung up, Maya sat with the contract for another hour, reading and rereading the terms. Everything seemed straightforward. Start date, salary, duties, benefits. A 60-day trial period where either party could walk away, no questions asked. She thought about Sofia's face when Richard yelled at her. About the way the little girl had looked at Maya afterward, like maybe the world wasn't entirely made of people who would hurt you when you made mistakes. She thought about the drawing in her bag. "Thank you for being brave." Maya pulled out her phone and typed a message to the number on the contract. "This is Maya Torres. I've reviewed the contract. If the offer still stands, I'd like to accept. When should I start?" The response came in less than a minute. "The offer stands. Marco will pick you up tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. Bring whatever you need for the day. We'll discuss details then. Welcome to the family, Maya." Maya stared at those last 4 words. Welcome to the family. She'd thought she was accepting a job. But Dante Castellano's message suggested she was accepting something else entirely. Something that would change her life in ways she couldn't begin to predict. Outside her window, Chicago glittered in the evening light. Somewhere in that sprawl of glass and steel, a little girl was probably getting ready for bed, maybe thinking about the waitress who'd stood up for her. And in a penthouse office, a powerful man was probably already planning how to integrate his newest employee into a world Maya didn't understand yet. Tomorrow, her new life would begin. Tonight, she'd let herself feel the full weight of what she'd just agreed to. Maya looked around her tiny apartment, the life she was leaving behind. It had been hard, exhausting, a constant scramble to stay afloat. But it had been hers. She'd survived on her own terms, asking for help from no one, beholden to no one. Now she was walking into something else, something that promised security but required trust. Something that looked like salvation, but might be something far more complicated. Welcome to the family, Maya. She fell asleep that night with the contract on her nightstand, and Sofia's drawing on her bedside table, both of them promises of a future she couldn't quite envision yet. And while Maya slept, Dante Castellano sat in his study at home, a glass of whiskey untouched on the desk beside him. On his computer screen was Maya's background check, the one he'd ordered the moment Victoria had mentioned her name. Parents deceased. Sister in college, financial struggles, no criminal record, no red flags. Nothing that suggested she was anything other than what she appeared to be. A young woman doing her best to survive and take care of the people she loved. But Dante hadn't gotten where he was by taking things at face value. Tomorrow, Maya Torres would begin working for him, would enter his world, would have access to his daughter. And Dante would be watching not because he didn't trust her, but because trust was something that had to be earned in increments. Carefully, over time. Still, Victoria had been right. There was something about Maya, something in the way she defended Sofia without calculation or fear, that suggested genuine goodness. That was rare in Dante's world, rare enough to be valuable. He closed the background check and pulled up the security footage from Luminosa one more time. Watched Maya kneel beside Sofia. Watched her face Richard without backing down. Watched her walk out of that restaurant with her head high, and her dignity intact. Yes, Dante thought. She'll do nicely. The question was, how long until the sharks circling his family noticed her too? Marco arrived at 8:43 a.m., 2 minutes early. Maya had been awake since 5, trying on different outfits, second-guessing her decision, and generally spiraling. She'd finally settled on dark jeans, a soft gray sweater, and flats. Something professional enough for meeting her new employer but comfortable enough for spending time with a 9-year-old. "Morning, Miss Torres," Marco said as she slid into the Mercedes. "Ready for your first day? Ask me again in 8 hours." He smiled. "Fair enough. We're going to the Castellano residence first. Mr. Castellano wants to brief you before Sofia's violin lesson." The drive took them out of Maya's neighborhood and into one of Chicago's most exclusive areas, Lincoln Park, where the houses were massive and set back from the street, behind gates and perfect landscaping. Marco pulled up to a wrought iron gate that opened automatically, revealing a 3-story brick mansion that looked like it belonged in a European postcard. "Holy shit," Maya whispered. "Yeah, it's impressive," Marco agreed. "Been in the family for 3 generations. Mr. Castellano's grandfather bought it in the 50s. He parked in a circular driveway where a fountain burbled peacefully. Before Maya could gather her thoughts, the front door opened, and Victoria Castellano stepped out. She was even more striking in daylight, tall and elegant in tailored pants and a silk blouse, her dark hair swept into a perfect chignon. But her smile was warm as she approached the car. "Maya, welcome. Come in, please. Sofia's been bouncing off the walls since we told her you were starting today." Maya followed Victoria into a foyer that made her breath catch. High ceilings, a sweeping staircase, artwork that probably belonged in museums. But there were also signs of actual life. A child's backpack by the door, family photos on a side table, a pair of small sneakers kicked off near the stairs. "Don't look so terrified," Victoria said gently. "It's just a house. An absurdly large house, but still just a house. It's beautiful. It's excessive. But it's home." Victoria led her through a hallway toward what appeared to be a study. "Dante's waiting in here. He wants to go over some details before Sofia hijacks you." The study was lined with bookshelves and dominated by a large desk where Dante sat, reading something on his laptop. He looked different here, more relaxed, in dark pants and a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. Still powerful, still commanding, but somehow more human. He stood as they entered. "Maya, thank you for coming. Thank you for the opportunity. Sit, please." He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. "Coffee? Breakfast? I'm told you left your apartment without eating." Maya blinked. "How did you?" Marco noticed. Part of his job is noticing everything. Dante pressed a button on his desk. "Could someone bring breakfast for 3 to the study? And Sofia's hot chocolate, please." He turned back to Maya. "Before Sofia descends on us, I want to clarify expectations. Your primary responsibility is Sofia's well-being during the time specified in your contract: school, events, activities, occasional dinners when Victoria and I have obligations. You're not a nanny, not a bodyguard, not a tutor. You're what I believe the therapeutic term is attachment figure. Someone she can trust, rely on, feel safe with." "I understand. Do you?" Dante leaned forward. "Because I need to be clear about something. Sofia will have good days and challenging ones. This isn't going to be easy. I didn't think it would be. Good. Honesty is important." He pulled out a tablet and turned it toward her. "This is Sofia's schedule. Violin on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Art therapy on Wednesdays. Private tutoring Monday through Friday because she's not quite ready for full-time school yet. Tennis on Saturdays." Maya scanned the schedule. "She's 9 years old. This is a lot of activities." The therapists recommended a structured routine. Predictability helps with anxiety. "What does Sofia want to do?" The question seemed to surprise him. "What do you mean? I mean, is this schedule what she wants, or what everyone thinks she needs?" Maya chose her words carefully. "There's nothing here about playdates with friends, or downtime, or just being a kid." Dante was quiet for a moment. "She doesn't have friends. Not anymore. After the kidnapping attempt, she pulled away from her classmates. And the structure helps her feel safe. Or it helps everyone around her feel like they're doing something," Maya said softly. "I'm not trying to criticize. I just think maybe sometimes kids need space to breathe too." Before Dante could respond, the study door burst open, and Sofia flew in, still in pajamas, her dark hair wild from sleep. "You're here!" She skidded to a stop in front of Maya, suddenly shy. Hi, Sofia." Maya smiled. "I love your pajamas. Are those unicorns?" Sofia looked down at her unicorn print pants. "Yeah, they're my favorite. Do you like unicorns?" "I love them. When I was your age, I had a unicorn poster on my wall, and I was convinced they were real." "They are real," Sofia said seriously. "We just haven't found them yet." "That's an excellent point." Sofia climbed into the chair beside Maya's, swinging her legs. "Papa said you're going to take me to violin today. Are you really?" "If that's okay with you." "It's very okay. Mrs. Morrison, that's my teacher. She's really nice, but sometimes Victoria can't come because she has meetings, and then Papa comes and he sits in the corner and looks at his phone the whole time." Sofia said this matter-of-factly, without accusation. "It makes Mrs. Morrison nervous." Dante rubbed his forehead. "I didn't realize I was making anyone nervous." "You have resting intimidation face," Victoria said, appearing in the doorway with a tray of breakfast pastries and coffee. "It's not your fault. It's just your face." "My face is fine," Dante protested. "Your face is many things, darling. Approachable isn't one of them." Victoria set down the tray and handed Sofia a mug of hot chocolate. "Go get dressed, Piccola. Maya can't take you to violin in pajamas." "But these are really nice pajamas," Sofia argued. "Very nice. Still pajamas." "Go." Sofia sighed dramatically and left, taking her hot chocolate with her. The moment she was gone, the atmosphere in the room shifted subtly. Dante and Victoria exchanged a look that Maya couldn't quite read. "She likes you," Victoria said. That's good. But Maya, I need to tell you something that Dante probably won't because he thinks I'm being paranoid. Victoria, Dante's voice held a warning. She deserves to know. Victoria turned to Maya. 3 weeks ago, someone followed Sofia home from her art therapy session. Marco's team intercepted them before anything happened, but it wasn't random. Someone is paying attention to Sofia's movements again. Maya's stomach dropped. You think someone's planning another kidnapping attempt? We think someone wants us to know they're watching, Dante said carefully. It's different from last time. More psychological than physical threat. Why are you telling me this? Because if you're going to be with Sofia, you need to be aware. Victoria sat on the edge of Dante's desk. Marco or another member of the security team will always be nearby when you're with her. But in an emergency, you need to know what to do. Which is, get her to safety first. Don't try to be a hero. Dante's voice was firm. Marco will give you his number. You call him immediately if anything feels wrong. Anything at all. Maya absorbed this information, trying to keep her expression calm. You're telling me that taking this job means I might be in danger. I'm telling you that being around Sofia comes with risks we can't completely eliminate. Dante met her eyes. If that changes your mind about the position, I'll understand. I'll still write you that recommendation letter. But you need to know what you're walking into. Maya thought about the contract sitting signed on her kitchen counter, about Emma's tuition and her own bank account with its pathetic balance, about the fact that she'd already committed to this. But more than that, she thought about Sofia bursting into the room in her unicorn pajamas, eyes bright with excitement, about a little girl who'd been through trauma and was still brave enough to trust someone new. I'm not walking away, Maya said quietly. But I need to know more. Who tried to kidnap her? And why? Dante and Victoria exchanged another look. That's complicated, Dante said finally. Then uncomplicate it. If I'm going to protect Sofia, I need to understand what I'm protecting her from. Dante stood and moved to the window, hands in his pockets. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. I own several businesses in Chicago. Restaurants, real estate, some import-export ventures. Most of it's legitimate. Some of it operates in gray areas. And some of my business rivals would like very much to see me fail. You're talking about organized crime, Maya said. Not a question. I'm talking about business that occasionally requires unorthodox methods. Dante turned back to face her. 18 months ago, a rival family thought they could gain leverage over me by taking Sofia. The attempt failed because I have excellent security, but it terrified my daughter and made me realize that my business was putting her at risk. So you married Victoria, Maya said, pieces clicking together. To give Sofia a mother figure who wasn't involved in that world? Victoria knew what she was getting into, Victoria said. And I love Sofia. But yes, part of Dante's thinking was that having a stepmother with no connection to his business might provide some protection. Did it work? For a while. Dante moved back to his desk. But lately, there's been movement again. Nothing overt, but concerning, hence the increased security, and hence my need for someone I can trust with Sofia, who isn't part of my usual operation. Someone they won't see as a threat, Maya said slowly. Someone who looks like exactly what she is, a regular person who just cares about a kid. Essentially, yes. Maya should have been angry, should have felt manipulated. But looking at Dante's face, she saw genuine concern beneath the calculation. This wasn't a man trying to use her. This was a father desperate to keep his daughter safe. Okay, Maya said. What do I need to know? About security protocols, about what to watch for, about who these people are. Marco will brief you on all of that, Dante said. But the most important thing to remember is that Sofia's safety comes first, always. If something feels wrong, trust your instincts. Like I did at the restaurant, exactly like that. A slight smile crossed his face. Your instincts are excellent, Maya. That's why you're here. Before Maya could respond, Sofia reappeared in the doorway, now dressed in jeans and a purple sweater with a violin case in hand. I'm ready, she announced. Can we go now? I don't want to be late. Mrs. Morrison gets worried when we're late. Maya stood. Then let's make sure we're on time. The violin lesson took place in a music school 15 minutes away. Marco drove, with another car following at a discreet distance, Security Maya wouldn't have noticed if Victoria hadn't pointed it out. Sofia chatted the entire drive, talking about her teacher, about the piece she was learning, about how her fingers sometimes hurt from pressing the strings, but it was worth it because the music was beautiful. "Do you play any instruments?" Sofia asked. "I took piano lessons when I was your age. I wasn't very good. Mrs. Morrison says everyone can make music if they practice enough. She says the only bad musician is the one who gives up. That's wise." "Yeah, she's really smart." Sofia looked out the window, then back at Maya. "I'm glad you're here. Papa and Victoria are nice, but they worry a lot. You seem like you don't worry as much." "Oh, I worry," Maya said. "I just hide it better," Sofia giggled. "That's what grown-ups do, right? Hide your worries?" "Pretty much." The music school was in an elegant brownstone with a small lobby where other parents waited during lessons. Maya settled into a chair while Sofia headed upstairs with her violin case, and Marco took a position near the door, apparently content to stand for the next hour. "You don't have to hover," Maya said quietly. "I've got this. I'm not hovering. I'm being present." Marco's eyes scanned the lobby, tracking every person who entered or left. "Besides, Mr. Castellano would have my head if anything happened while you were on duty. Nothing's going to happen in a music school. Probably not. But probably isn't good enough when it comes to Sofia." Maya was about to respond when the door opened and a woman entered mid-30s, well-dressed, with the kind of sharp eyes that saw everything. She glanced at Marco, then at Maya, and something shifted in her expression. She walked directly to Maya. "You're new. I'm sorry? You're new to the Castellano detail. I haven't seen you before." The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Catherine Moretti. My daughter takes piano lessons here. I know most of the families." "Maya Torres." "Nice to meet you, Torres." Catherine seemed to taste the name. "And what's your connection to the Castellanos?" Maya felt Marco tense beside her, though he didn't move. "I'm helping with Sofia," Maya said carefully. "Helping how?" "New nanny? Tutor?" Catherine's smile widened. "Or something else? Dante does have a reputation for surrounding himself with attractive young women." The insult landed like a slap. Before Maya could respond, Marco stepped forward. "Mrs. Moretti." "Always a pleasure." His voice was ice. "I'm sure you have somewhere else to be." Catherine's smile never wavered. "Just making conversation, Marco. No need to be rude." She looked back at Maya. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Miss Torres. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of each other." She left, and the temperature in the room seemed to rise about 10 degrees. "Who was that?" Maya asked. "Trouble." Marco moved back to his position by the door. "Catherine Moretti is married to Vincent Moretti. The Morettis and the Castellanos have been competing for the same territory for 3 generations. The rival family, Dante mentioned. One of them. And Catherine's the type who gathers information for fun." Marco's expression was grim. "The fact that she just met you means Vincent will know about you by tonight, which means Dante needs to know she approached you. I didn't tell her anything. You didn't have to. Your face told her enough that you're not from this world, that you care about Sofia, that you're someone who might be vulnerable to pressure." Marco pulled out his phone. "I'm texting Mr. Castellano now. He'll want to adjust security protocols." Maya's stomach churned. She'd been on the job for less than 3 hours and had already become a potential weakness in Dante's defenses. "I should have kept my mouth shut," she said. "You were polite to someone who approached you. That's not a crime." Marco finished his text. "But now you understand why Mr. Castellano was so careful in his explanations. This world has rules you don't know yet, and people who'll exploit that." The hour passed slowly. When Sofia emerged from her lesson, beaming and chattering about the compliments Mrs. Morrison had given her, Maya tried to push aside the encounter with Catherine Moretti and focus on the little girl's happiness. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just taken her first real step into Dante Castellano's world, and it was darker and more dangerous than she'd imagined. They returned to the Castellano mansion to find Dante waiting in the foyer, his expression unreadable. "Sofia, go wash up for lunch," he said. "Maya, my study, please." Sofia looked between them, suddenly worried. "Is Maya in trouble?" "No, Piccola, just adult conversation. Go on." After Sofia disappeared upstairs, Dante led Maya back to his study and closed the door. The moment it clicked shut, his careful control cracked slightly. "Catherine Moretti approached you." Marco told you. Marco did his job. And you did nothing wrong, Dante said quickly, seeing Maya's expression. But this complicates things. Catherine is Vincent's eyes and ears. She collects information and uses it strategically. What kind of information? The kind that can be weaponized. Weaknesses, relationships, loyalties. Dante moved to his desk but didn't sit. By approaching you directly, she sent a message that she knows I've brought someone new into Sofia's life, and that she's paying attention. I'm sorry. You should have done exactly what you did, been polite and told her nothing. But now we need to adjust. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Michael, I need you at the house this afternoon. We have a situation. After he hung up, Dante looked at Maya with something that might have been guilt. I'm putting you in a position I promised to avoid, he said quietly, making you visible to people who might use that visibility against me. Then what do? We adapt. Dante finally sat, gesturing for Maya to do the same. Michael Santos is my consigliere, my advisor. He'll brief you on the berates, on what they might try, on how to handle situations if they approach you again. And we increase security around you as well as Sofia. Around me? You're part of this now. That means you're potentially a target for anyone looking to gain leverage. He met her eyes. I need to ask you directly. Are you still in? Because if this is too much, now's the time to walk away. No judgment, no hard feelings. Maya thought about the morning Sofia's excitement, the easy way they'd talked during the drive, the little girl's laughter when Mrs. Morrison had praised her playing. She thought about Catherine Moretti's sharp eyes and calculated smile. She thought about the contract and the money and the fact that she'd already told Emma this was happening. But mostly, she thought about Sofia asking, "Is Maya in trouble?" with genuine worry in her voice. I'm not walking away, Maya said. But I need you to be completely honest with me. What exactly are the Morettis capable of? Dante was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was matter-of-fact, almost clinical. 3 years ago, a man who owed Vincent Moretti money tried to hide by moving to Arizona. Vincent found him anyway. The man's wife and daughter weren't hurt, but they watched as Vincent's men made it very clear what happens to people who try to run from debts. He paused. Vincent Moretti doesn't kill unnecessarily. He's too smart for that, but he's very good at making people wish they were dead. Maya's mouth went dry. And his wife just approached me in a music school lobby. Yes, which means she's gathering intelligence. Trying to understand who you are, what you mean to me, how you might be useful. Dante leaned forward. I won't let anything happen to you, Maya, but I need you to understand the reality. These aren't people who play fair. They'll smile while planning your destruction. Then teach me, Maya said. Teach me how to spot them, how to handle them, how to protect myself and Sofia. I'm not running, but I'm also not going in blind anymore. Something like respect flickered in Dante's eyes. Michael will be here in an hour. He'll start your education. In the meantime, have lunch with Sofia. Try to be normal for her sake. She doesn't need to know about any of this. Dante? Maya stopped at the door. Why didn't you tell me about Catherine Moretti before? You knew Sofia takes lessons at that school. You must have known there was a chance we'd run into her. I knew. I was hoping we'd have more time before the Morettis took interest. He looked tired suddenly, the weight of his responsibilities showing. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm trying to protect everyone, and I'm not sure I know how to do that anymore. It was the most honest thing he'd said to her. Maya nodded and left him there, returning to find Sofia in the dining room with Victoria, both of them eating sandwiches and discussing the morning's lesson. Maya, Sofia brightened. Sit with us. Cook made cucumber sandwiches, and they're really good even though I thought they'd be weird. Maya sat, accepted a sandwich, and let herself fall into the rhythm of normal conversation. Sofia talked about her upcoming art therapy session, about a book she was reading, about how she wanted to learn to bake cookies. But Maya's mind was elsewhere, turning over what she'd learned. She'd walked into this thinking she was accepting a well-paying job helping a traumatized child. Instead, she'd walked into something that looked like a war, where the battle lines weren't always visible, and the casualties could be anyone. She'd stayed anyway. The question was, how long until that decision cost her more than she was willing to pay? Michael Santos arrived precisely at 1 p.m. He was in his mid-40s, with silver-streaked dark hair and the kind of quiet competence that suggested he never panicked. He shook Maya's hand with a firm grip and guided her to a different room, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and comfortable leather chairs. Mr. Castellano briefed me on the Catherine Moretti situation, Michael said without preamble. He also said you want the truth about what you've walked into. So let's start there. What do you know about the Castellano family business? Restaurants, real estate, some imports, and some things that probably aren't entirely legal. That's diplomatic. Michael pulled out a tablet. Here's the less diplomatic version. Dante Castellano runs one of the 3 major operations in Chicago. The Castellanos control the south side and parts of downtown. The Morettis control the west side. The D'Angelos control the north. Everyone pretends to be legitimate businessmen. Nobody is. He showed her a map of Chicago divided into color-coded territories. These boundaries are maintained through a combination of money, influence, and the occasional demonstration of force. For the most part, everyone stays in their lane. But lately, the Morettis have been pushing into Castellano territory, opening competing restaurants, undercutting real estate deals, making noise. Why? Because Vincent Moretti is getting old, and his sons are ambitious. They smell blood in the Prydick. Water Dante's been distracted since his first wife died, focused on Sofia instead of business. They think he's weak. They're wrong, but perception matters in this world. And Sofia's kidnapping attempt was part of that? Yes. A message that if Dante didn't pull back from certain ventures, his family would pay the price. Michael's expression darkened. The attempt failed because Dante has excellent security, and because the Morettis underestimated how fast he'd respond. 3 of the men involved disappeared. The 4th is serving 20 years for unrelated charges. The Morettis got the message, but now they're testing again. Exactly. Catherine approaching you was a probe, seeing if Dante's brought someone into his inner circle who might be vulnerable. Someone they could flip, or threaten, or use for information. Maya's hands were shaking slightly. She clasped them together. What do I do if she approaches me again? Be polite, give her nothing, and text Marco immediately. Michael pulled up a document on his tablet. I'm going to give you profiles on the key Moretti family members. Faces to recognize, names to remember, and some basic rules for interaction. For the next hour, Michael walked her through the complicated web of Chicago's organized crime families. He showed her photos, explained relationships, and detailed past conflicts. It was like learning a foreign language, complete with its own vocabulary and unspoken rules. Don't try to memorize everything at once, Michael said finally. The important thing is situational awareness. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. That's what Dante said. Because it's true. You've already proven you have good instincts standing up for Sofia, recognizing Catherine as a threat even if you didn't know the specifics. Don't second-guess yourself. After Michael left, Maya sat alone in the library for a few minutes, trying to process everything. She'd been on the job for 6 hours, and had already been identified by a rival crime family, briefed on territorial disputes, and warned about potential kidnapping attempts. This was insane. She should walk away. Should tell Dante this was too much, take whatever money he'd give her, and disappear back into her safe, struggling, anonymous life. Instead, she stood up and went to find Sofia. The little girl was in what appeared to be a playroom, building something elaborate with blocks. She looked up when Maya entered, her face lighting up. Look, I'm making a castle. Want to help? Maya sat down on the floor beside her. I'd love to. They built in comfortable silence for a while, Sofia narrating her architectural choices, while Maya handed her blocks. It was normal. Simple. Exactly what a 9-year-old should be doing instead of being a pawn in adult power games. Maya? Sofia said after a while. Are you scared? The question caught Maya off guard. Scared of what? Of my papa. A lot of people are scared of him. Sofia placed a tower carefully on her castle. The teachers at my old school were scared. The parents were scared. That's why I don't go there anymore. I'm not scared of your papa. But you know what he is, right? What he does. Maya looked at the little girl, too wise, too aware, carrying knowledge no child should have to carry. I know some things, Maya said carefully, and I know he loves you very much. That's what matters to me. He does love me. Sofia's voice was quiet. But sometimes love means danger. That's what my therapist says. That it's not my fault people want to hurt me to hurt him. Maya's heart broke a little. Your therapist is right. None of this is your fault, Sofia. You're just a kid who should get to be a kid. But I'm not just a kid. I'm Dante Castellano's daughter. That's different. Maybe. But to me, you're Sofia, who likes unicorns and violin and building castles. That's who I'm here for." Sofia looked at her with those two old eyes. "Promise you won't leave like the others did? The other nannies and tutors? They always leave eventually. I promise I'll be here as long as you need me." It was a promise Maya had no business making. She'd been in this world for less than a day. She had no idea what she was really promising. But looking at Sofia's face, at the hope warring with fear in her expression, Maya meant every word. "Okay," Sofia said finally, "then you can put the princess tower right there. Every good castle needs a princess tower." They built until Victoria came to collect Sofia for her afternoon tutoring session. After they left, Maya stayed in the playroom, staring at the castle they'd constructed, bright blocks forming walls and towers and hopes for safety that might not exist. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Michael said you handled the briefing well. Thank you for staying. Sofia needs someone like you. So do I." Maya stared at those last three words. So do I. This wasn't just about Sofia anymore. This was about Dante, too, a powerful man trying to figure out how to be a good father in a world that punished softness. A man who'd built walls around himself and his daughter, and was now carefully, cautiously, allowing Maya inside those walls. She texted back, "One day at a time, we'll figure it out together." His response came quickly, "Together." I like the sound of that. Outside the playroom windows, Chicago sprawled in afternoon sunlight. Somewhere out there, Catherine Moretti was reporting back to her family about the new woman in Dante Castellano's life. Somewhere, people were making plans and calculating odds and deciding who was weak enough to exploit. But in this house, a little girl was learning to trust again, and Maya had just promised not to let her down. Whatever came next, she'd face it, one day at a time, just like she'd survived everything else. Then came the morning everything changed, 3 months into Maya's new life. Maya arrived at the Castellano house to find it in chaos. Security everywhere, Dante's face carved from stone. Victoria on the phone, speaking rapid Italian. "What happened?" Maya asked Marco. "The Morettis made a move. Tried to buy out one of Mr. Castellano's key suppliers. When that didn't work, the supplier's warehouse caught fire last night." Marco's jaw was tight. "It's escalating." Sofia appeared at the top of the stairs, still in pajamas, eyes wide with fear. "Papa's really angry. Is someone trying to hurt us again?" Maya climbed the stairs and pulled the little girl into a hug. "Your papa's handling it. You're safe. I promise." But that afternoon, when Maya took Sofia to the violin, 3 cars followed them instead of 1. Marco's hand never left his jacket where Maya knew he kept his gun. And when they arrived, Catherine Moretti was waiting in the lobby. "Miss Torres." "Sofia. What a lovely surprise." Catherine's smile was razor sharp. "I wanted to personally invite Sofia to my daughter's birthday party next month. All the children from the music school will be there." It was a trap. Maya knew it instantly. Accept and give the Morettis access to Sofia. Decline and insult them publicly. "That's very kind," Maya said carefully. "We'll have to check Sofia's schedule." "Of course. Dante must keep her very busy." Catherine leaned closer. "You know, I've been wondering, does he pay you extra for the night shifts? Or is that more of a personal arrangement?" The implication landed like acid. Marco stepped forward, but Maya held up a hand. "Mrs. Moretti, I'm here because I care about Sofia. Nothing more, nothing less." Maya kept her voice steady. "And I think you know that. Which makes me wonder why you're really here." Catherine's smile faltered for just a moment. "Just being neighborly." "No, you're not." Maya picked up Sofia's violin case. "You're trying to find a weakness. But I'm not it. And neither is Sofia. So you can tell your family that the Castellanos are stronger than you think." She walked past, Catherine with Sofia's hand in hers, heart hammering but head high. In the car, Marco was grinning. "Mr. Castellano is going to love hearing about that." He was right. When Maya recounted the encounter that evening, Dante actually laughed, a sound she'd rarely heard. "You told Catherine Moretti we're stronger than they think? Was that wrong?" It was perfect. Dante's eyes held warmth she hadn't seen before. "You're perfect, Maya. For Sofia. For this family." For he stopped himself, but something hung in the air between them. That night, as Maya was leaving, Dante walked her to the door. The Morettis are going to push harder now, he said quietly. And they might push at you. If you want out, I understand. I don't want to go out. Maya surprised herself with how much she meant it. Sofia needs consistency. And honestly, I need this too. This family. This purpose. It's the first time in 4 years I've felt like I'm building something instead of just surviving. Dante's hand found hers, warm and solid. Then stay, please. Sofia needs you. I need you. The kiss shouldn't have happened. But it did, gentle, questioning, full of everything they hadn't said. This complicates things, Maya whispered when they broke apart. Everything about this is already complicated. Dante's thumb traced her cheek, but some complications are worth it. The Moretti's final move came 2 weeks later. Maya was walking Sofia from the car to the music school when a van pulled up fast. Men in masks. Hands reaching. Sofia screams. Maya didn't think. She threw herself between them and Sofia, felt pain explode across her ribs as someone shoved her hard. She grabbed Sofia and ran, Marco's gun firing behind them, security swarming. When it was over, 3 Moretti men were in custody. Maya had bruised ribs and a split lip, and Sofia was safe, clinging to her with desperate strength. You saved me, the little girl sobbed. Again. At the hospital, Dante arrived looking like he'd aged 10 years. He pulled Maya into his arms, careful of her injuries, and held on like she might disappear. I'm sorry, he said hoarsely. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. No, Maya pulled back to look at him. This is the Moretti's fault, and it's over now. It was. The attempted kidnapping in broad daylight had been too much. The FBI was involved now. The Morettis were facing federal charges. Vincent had been forced to publicly apologize and retreat from all Castellano territory. The war was over. The Castellanos had won. 6 months later, Maya stood in the garden of the Castellano mansion, watching Sofia play with 2 new friends from the school she'd finally felt safe enough to attend full-time. The little girl's laughter rang out, pure and joyful. Dante's arms wrapped around Maya from behind. Happy? Very. She leaned back against him. Are you? I am now. He turned her to face him. I have a question for you. Just one? For now. Dante's smile was soft. Maya Torres, will you marry me? Not because of security, not because of Sofia, but because I love you. Because you walked into our lives and made us whole again. Because I can't imagine tomorrow without you in it. Maya looked at the ring he was holding. Simple, elegant, perfect. She looked at Sofia playing in the garden. She looked at the man who'd started as her employer and become so much more. Yes, she said. 1,000 times yes. Sofia's squeal of delight told them she'd been listening. She ran over and threw her arms around both of them. Does this mean Maya's staying forever? Forever, Dante confirmed, pulling them both close. Maya thought about the night at Luminosa when she defended a child she didn't know. About the job offer that had seemed too good to be true. About the danger and the fear and the moments of pure connection that had made it all worthwhile. She'd come into this world expecting to save Sofia. Instead, they'd saved each other, a broken little girl, a father drowning, in guilt and responsibility, and a young woman who'd been surviving so long she'd forgotten how to live. Now they were a family. Complicated, unconventional, built from courage and choice and love that had bloomed in the most unlikely soil. Forever sounds perfect, Maya whispered. And as Chicago stretched out below them, golden in the sunset, Maya knew she'd found something she'd stopped believing existed. A home, a purpose, and a love worth every risk she'd taken to find it. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.